I'm here with Janice Hadlow, controller of BBC2. Janice, it feels like you've announced an entire schedule's worth of programmes today, but what are your highlights?
Well, I think it's a tough one to call because they're all such great things, but the one that I think personally I'm probably looking forward to incredibly much is Wolf Hall. So I'm incredibly pleased that we've got the rights to do Wolf Hall with company pictures, adaptation of Hilary Mantel's fantastic 2 novels, 1 Booker Prize winning. Seems to me it's right in the crosshairs of what a BBC2 audience will enjoy, and I count myself in that as a key cheerleader for that too.
What more can you tell us about it? Is it too early for casting?
It's a bit early for casting, yeah. Written by Peter Strawn and quite early stages so far, but I think all the signs look good for it to be a quintessential BBC2 mix of content, entertainment and surprise.
And Hugo Blick's back.
Hugo Blick is back with a new thriller, The Honourable Woman. We expect that to have this sort of trademark Blick qualities of complexity, deep characterisation, and again, I've seen some of the things I've seen so far in the script, quite a lot of characteristic Blick surprise as well. And
in comedy, we've got Mitchell and Webb. We've got a new
yes,
comedy drama.
Yes, we've got Mitchell and Webb doing set in a British embassy in a Central Asian country. New departure for them, I think, doing comedy which is as much drama in a way as comedy. We have a new comedy coming from Sue Perkins, which is very exciting for us. And also the return of Ade Edmondson and Rick Mail in Hooligans Island, finding out what's happened to those extraordinary characters in the last 25, 30, can it really be that long? It is a long time.
How long has it been? How long has it been away?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but I think it's almost a lifetime.
Did you have mixed feelings about that? Because they have been away for a long time and it feels like they've been doing that stick for a while. Is there a danger of scraping the bottom, if you pardon the pun?
No, well, I see your point. I think this would be very different though. It puts them into a very, very different scenario. They're actually on an island where they've been effectively shipwrecked in some way. And,
so it's lost bottom?
Well, that's a thought.
Kind of. Yeah.
But I think it will have all the sort of technicolor physical comedy that we associate with them.
An occasional technicolor yawns probably being bottom.
That is indeed possible.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit more about the channel. It's going to be a very different channel next year. Changes coming in January, is that right?
In January, yeah, we'll start seeing the changes happening in January, yeah.
And that's going to be repeats, or if you prefer, another chance to see during the day up until 6 or 7 o'clock?
Yes. There'll be in the earlier evening, mostly in late afternoon, early evening. We'll be losing our daytime originations there. We're holding on to our shoulder peak originations, which take us into 6:30 or 7 o'clock. But there will be mostly repeats and reprises of things that we've shown elsewhere on the channel in early evening. Yeah.
How tough is that to cope with as a channel controller, purely in the sense of BBC2's identity? In one way, it kind of feels like you're half the channel you were, because there really will be almost half the schedule will be non-original programme.
I think that there's a difference between the number of hours and the identity of a channel, and I think we've made the decision, which I think is the right one, to protect absolutely the identity and character of BBC2 in peak. That's the most important thing to our audience. That's not to in any way diminish the pleasure that people get out of what we put on earlier, but the core value of BBC2 is in the peak. And what we're trying to do, though, is to make sure that we're still offering that early evening audience something that is distinctively BBC2 and that they will get pleasure out of, whilst at the same time protecting the core values of the central channel. And
how do you cope with that sort of difficult gear change? Maybe you mentioned shoulder peak. I guess that's between 6 and 7 o'clock. Do you throw a lot of
time scale?
Yeah. Do you throw a lot of money at that to sort of give them something really sort of added value at that time to introduce them and get them into the evening schedule?
No, we don't throw a lot of money at that. We spend most of our money is spent in peak. And but on the other hand, what we do know is that with a daytime tariff, we can still make programmes that people actually want to come and watch, and that do feel as though they have a sort of distinctively BBC2 character to them, and that won't change.
But is there a danger that that sort of difficult transition from a repeats channel or a repeat schedule into an original schedule? How do you sort of how do you smooth that gear change?
That's what we're working really hard to try and make sure that we get that right, and I think that's about making sure that we've still got what I was saying about a very distinctively BBC2 offer there. Yes, they will be repeats, these will be programmes that you've seen before, but I think they will still offer a same amount of pleasure that you'll get from very characteristic 2 programming at that time of night, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
And you've been in charge now for 3.5 years, more than 3 years?
Yeah, 4 years in November, I think it is.
And key shows, I guess, from the top of my head, with things like Volcano Live and, of course, the Great British Bake Off and all the dramas you've had, like the Hollowed Crown. How do you sort of boil down the essence of the Hadlow 2?
Well, I'd like to think, I mean, I always say intelligent. I'd like to think that actually all those things in their different way, but there are things like the Hollowed Crown, which are quintessentially classic BBC2, which are immensely important to the reputation, not just of BBC2, but to the whole of the BBC. But I think when you look at programmes like Great British Bake Off, you know, what you see there is what those values, what those BBC2 values mean when it's translated into more popular television. And that's just as important, I think, is getting a kind of linkage, if you like, between the things we do for very large audiences that are more entertaining and the things that we do which are primarily reputational for a smaller audience. They have to feel integrated together, otherwise you don't have a channel with a proper identity. And I think, to me, and also all the stuff in between there, you know, the very, very successful Factual, where we've seen our ability to bring audiences often to quite challenging, difficult subjects. That's really important to us, is to see how that all coheres together as one joined up channel, one joined up offer. But intelligence, I think, goes under all of it, really.
And just finally, a lot of your commercial competitors, they've got +1 channels, they've got HD channels. I guess you're not going to get a +1 anytime soon, but when are we going to see BBC2 HD?
It's coming. We haven't got a timetable absolutely identified yet, but it's on its way.
And no time at all, you can tell us? Next year?
I'll come back to you on that one.
Come back to me. All right, well, maybe this time next year. All right, Janice Hadlow, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.